If you have any questions as we go through the webinar, please pop them through the chat and we'll try and get to the questions as we go through. We shouldn't take any longer than about half an hour. If I don't get to your questions through the chat, I will respond back to you after this via email. I'm going to pop everybody on mute so we don't get any background noise. And can everybody see my screen now that I've shared it? Excellent. On my screen here, you can see this is Content Manager 9.2. Now, Micro Focus have done a lot of work inside Content Manager. Now, a number of the big changes they've done have been to the web client. Their aim is to try and make the web client like a desktop replacement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start first in the web client and show you what they've done in there. And welcome to the web client. As you can see on the front screen here, you can now display your favorite records, recent containers, or any of your documents checked out, favorite saved searches. This was in 9.2. One really cool feature I do like about this is I can actually move these guys around. And it's not going to let me do that this morning. It's okay. Now, what they've actually done when it comes to searching, it now saves your last 8 searches as part of your search history, which I thought is really cool. So now, rather than having to type in your searches all the time, if you've used it previously, you can just click in the search query box and select one of your previous searches. And the search will go ahead and run. As you can see, I've retrieved some results there. Another feature, which I do like, is continuous scrolling. So I'll just bring up a search. So rather than having to now, in the past, you would bring up your search results and right at the bottom of the page, you would see next page, next page, next page. What they've done now is I've now got 396 documents on my screen. I'm showing one of 40. So if I start scrolling down the page, as I get to the bottom of my page, it updates and I can just continue to scroll, which is a very nice feature. So it makes life a little bit easier when you're looking for something. Another nice addition they have done with the searching is you can actually now search by or sort by your additional fields. So under the options inside the web client, you have a sort option. This will bring up a window that is pretty similar to what you see inside the installed client. And if I click on my little drop down here, if I scroll down, it's pretty obvious this is an additional field, my fruit type. So if I wanted to sort by my additional fields, I can just select it. And of course, you've got the 3 to choose from. Cost 1 is also another additional field. If you click OK, your search results will be sorted in what you have selected. You can remove those sort options if you wish and just take them out. Okay. They have also added inside the web client some hierarchical viewing. So if you wanted to see the contents of your containers, you can now see the contents very similar to what you see inside the web installed client, which is a very nice feature. Also, you've probably noticed that the icons now will tell you actually what the document is. So as you can see, this one here is a Word document. I have a message sitting here. TALF, which is an audit log from Content Manager. So it's making it a lot easier to find your documents, view your documents, and know what your documents are inside the web client. They've also done some enhancements to the properties panel. So if you remember inside the installed client, when you click on a document, down the bottom in the view pane, you can view further properties of that particular document. Inside the web client, if you click on your document, you do have a lot of your options here to allow you to do what you need to do. So under new, you see new version. You can change the locations for the container, set the assignee. However, on the right-hand side, we have two arrows pointing to the left, which is a hide show the properties panel. The properties panel will pop out for your selected document, and by default it may show you your record number, your title, date created, container it's in. It'll also see the revisions that you have. If you want to change what fields you have on display here in the properties panel, you can just select properties. Another window pops up. So as you can see here, on the left-hand side, you have the property fields that are available to you to be displayed. On the right-hand side, you have the ones that are currently on display. Now, a nice feature I like here is you can actually move the fields on the right-hand side to wherever you wish to view them. And that's just a click and a drag and a drop. So if you wish to move them around, you can. If you want to remove it, you can select the field on the right and just click remove, and it takes it away. And as always, in Content Manager style, you can go and find a new field and just add it back in and then move it up or down. So once you're happy with the fields you have on display in your properties window, you can click OK, and it'll adjust them accordingly. If you don't want to see the properties panel anymore, you can just click on the double arrows again and it'll hide it for you. You've probably noticed, as I'm going through the various items inside the web client, you see new tabs are starting to appear. So very similar to the installed client, rather than having to overwrite the same window you're looking at, the new tabs are appearing so you can move easily between them. Do we find people using the web client? It is. More than the full client now. They are starting to use the web client. I think the majority of the people, our customers, don't actually know the functionality of the web client. And it is starting to become more and more common to bring the web client up as Micro Focus actually adds more functionality into it. Their aim is to make it a desktop replacement. Unfortunately, administrators, you still have to use the installed client because the administration function is staying in the installed client. For Mac users, yes, it does work very well. It is supported in Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox. Unfortunately, it's not supported in Safari yet. So for a Mac user, if you have any of those browsers installed, Chrome, Internet Explorer or Firefox, you can use the web client quite comfortably. Working on a tablet, at the moment, it is still working in an internet browser. Okay. You're welcome. They just posted thank you. So I do like the tabs. So they are very, very useful to actually navigate through the web client. Now, a nice little bit of functionality is you've got your field validations. So when you're creating a new record, that's a Checkin Style. So if I'm going to create a new record, and this is what the form will be displayed based on how your forms are customized. Rather than telling you as you're going to save your record that there is a problem with the field, it actually tells you as you move through the field. So as you can see there, I've just typed in a name and there's no matches found. So I can just type in a new name, select the person. If the container doesn't exist, it will tell you straight away that it hasn't found a container, which is really nice. So rather than getting to the bottom of the form and going, why isn't that working? It's telling you as you go. Also, they now have brought in metadata validation rules, which allows you to not force the users, but get the users to make sure the information is correct. It's really, really useful for additional fields. So for example, I've got a claim amount here, and I'm going to make my priority low. If I go and click OK or save, it's telling me the record creation failed because I've got a validation rule which hasn't been met. So any claims over $10,000 must be allocated to the high priority work queue. Okay, so you click OK on that. So I've just got to change my priority to high, and that will actually be in compliance with that validation rule, because the claim amount is over $10,000 and my queue for priority has been set to high. Another nice functionality is they've done some work on jurisdiction selection. So if I click on my lookup for my jurisdictions, it makes it a lot easier to select a jurisdiction and remove them. So under Queensland here, I can select Central Queensland, double click on it and I'll select my Central Queensland and I can save that information. And to remove the jurisdiction, I can just click on the cross and it takes it away. So it's now really simple to select the item in the jurisdictions and remove them. If you had multiple, all I'm doing here is double clicking to select them and you can see at the top there they've been selected. If I don't want North Queensland, I can just click on the cross and it'll take it away. Lookup sets, they've improved the way the lookup sets are inside the web client. So for example, here I have my fruit type. If I click on the lookup, the quick select, I can select the type of fruit I wish to purchase. So it is very nice. You can see what you want to select and it adds it to the list at the top. And you can save that. And you notice on the jurisdictions, you can have multiple jurisdictions selected. The lookup sets are still set to single values. So and you can drag and drop your documents in here, or you can click in here just to upload a particular document. Just go select a document. There we go. The document gets uploaded and I can save my document. And that's been added into the system. I've had a couple of questions pop up. Does it change the view when you turn it on a device? Yes, it does. So as you make your device smaller, the view actually changes to fit the device, particularly if it's a mobile phone. How do you search container if you are unsure of the number? Just go back and create a new one. You should be able to type in the name of the folder to bring up the search criteria. However, in my case, it's actually allowing me to only type in the record number to bring that up. I'll do some further research for you and I'll confirm if we can search another way for the container number if we don't know the record number. Revisions. They've done a fair bit of work on revisions inside the web client. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for a particular record. So I've just typed in the record number and I'm just doing a search. Now this particular record does have a couple of revisions, and to view the revisions you just click on the little word icon and it brings it up, and as you can see this particular item's on jellyfish. Now if I want to view the previous revisions, up in the top right corner there is a revisions button and it'll bring up the previous revisions for you. If you want to have a look at those, you just click on the revision and it'll show you a preview of the document. With the revisions, if you've got permission to do so, as you can see, you can preserve the revision, but you can also promote it. You can delete it if you have the correct permissions. And if you wish to go back to the current revision, you can do so. In the past, you were unable to view the previous revisions, so they've made this enhancement to allow you to view all the revisions for a particular document. For those users that actually look after the retention and disposal and archiving, in relation to consignments, which is part of the Advanced Disposal Processing module, you can actually approve your consignments now within the web client. You do not have to go back to the installed client. So on the left-hand side here under your work lists, you will see you have your workflows. You also have your consignments. Now, if a consignment has been created to destroy, archive, or permanently keep the records, Once the review has been undertaken and the issues and the records have been examined, you can come into the web client if that's the only access you have, and I've got one here, DC1598, and it's pending approval. If I select on my consignment, I have some buttons available to me. I can update it, which allows me to add in some comments if I wish. I can approve it. I can reject it. So if I'm rejecting this consignment for the destroy, I can type in my reason for the rejection and save my reason. I can also have a look at my records that belong to this consignment. So I can review them myself before I make my decision. And I can show the consignment record rejections if there are any in there. So if I wanted to approve this, I can just come along and click on my approve, and the consignment gets approved. And that'll now move on to the next stage of the consignment process. So that is actually very handy. You don't need the installed client for that now. You can actually do it in the web client. And they have done some enhancements now that you can have support for multiple data sets. So at the moment, I'm sitting here in the demo DB, which is dataset ID 45. I do have the ability to go over to another dataset, and all it is just a URL has been changed. So if you've got multiple tenancies and multiple datasets, they've enhanced the support for multiple datasets. And now I've actually gone over to a different dataset there. So that is really, really handy. So now you can have a web client set up for a production dataset, and you may have another one set up for the test dataset, and they're two different addresses. And that makes it a lot easier to go between them. Now, another question popped up. Does this refer to the advanced disposal processing module in relation to consignments? Yes, it does. The consignments are part of that particular module. If anyone's after any further information on the module, you can just let me know, and I can provide that information for you. That's not all they've done for the web client, but that is what they've done for the web client, all the new features they have included there, which there is some really nice features in there that if you are a bit skeptical about installing the full client, you can use the web client as well. Now, in regards to the installed client, there is some really nice stuff in here they've done as well. Another question's just popped up. Is there integration with Outlook and the web client? Yes, there is. It is the thin client. I don't have that installed on my computer at the moment, but there is a thin client integration with Outlook to allow you to use the web client with Outlook. I can send some further information about that if required as well. With the installed client, Office 365, it doesn't matter whether it's installed Office 365 or it's the online version. I think it does integrate with both, but I'll dig that information out for you. Now, with the installed client, for those of you that haven't seen Content Manager version 9 before, you will see that they've actually gone from the menus, they're now into tabs. This changed in 8.2. Now, with the full client, they have made some nice changes to the lookup sets, actually. So under my Manage ribbon, I have my lookup sets. Okay, so with an additional field, you can create a lookup set, so the user can choose a predefined item out of the little drop-down menu. With my animals here, so if I go into my Manage Items, which is just a right mouse click and Manage Items, they've made it a hierarchical lookup set. There we go. Now, as you can see here, under my animals lookup set, I have canine and I have some breeds of dogs in there. Same with my feline. So if I want to add anything in here, I can just do a right mouse click and do a new low level item. So under my equine, which is the horses, I might put in Arabian. And it adds it in as a lower level for my lookup set. And you can also right mouse click and do a new top level item. I'll put in bovine. And then I can add a new low level item to that as well. Everyone likes Angus. So they've made the lookup sets in a way that you can define the items a lot clearer for the end users. So rather than having a long list, they can just have a top level list of half a dozen items and then actually spread them out and make it clearer for the users in the lower levels. If you're creating a new document, so when you actually use the lookup set, you see the top level sitting there, and then I can just expand the top level and select it. So when it's inside the additional field, you can see the top level as well as the lower level. So it gives it a bit more clarity on what the items are for that lookup set, which I think is a very nice feature. They have also included inside the installed client, this is where you can create your metadata validation rules, which is located under the Manage ribbon. Now I've got two sitting there at the moment. I'll bring up my banana one. So if a user, there's some criteria that the user has to meet here. So for example, when an item meets the following criteria, if banana is the title, but I have an additional field and it doesn't have a type of banana in there, I'm going to get a warning saying the type of banana must be selected in the fruit type field. And I'm only testing this for new items at this point in time. So to demonstrate that, I'll just go and create a new record, use my fruit document. So I'm going to put in here, this is my banana delivery for Friday. I'll select my author, pop it in the right container. Now if I go and select from my fruit type apple, okay, and click OK, I'm going to get a message. My type of banana must be selected in my fruit type field. Okay, so I have made a slight error in my fruit type. So if I go and select a type of banana and click OK, I will find that that will now meet the validation rules and it will be accepted as a record. You can create any type of rules. It's really, really good for testing your additional fields. Okay, so I do like that nice feature there. Another item they have actually changed is the lookup for containers. So I'll just go back into the properties of this particular record. In the past, when you didn't know the container and you had to go do a search for it, you clicked on your quick select icon. As you can see, they've changed the form. So rather than having it as a mini content manager installed, they've now changed the form. So for the default, in my case, is my containers. I can go look at my favorites, records in tray. I can use the save search to find my container if I wish. If the container you want is not located in any of these trays, down the bottom of the form is a search, which will bring up your find records, and you can still go and search for your particular container. I think that is a really nice feature because in the past it could be confusing if you had the container search field the full size of your screen because it looked exactly the same as the actual client, except there was like OK, cancel, and help down the bottom. So I think they've made that a little bit easier to use. So that's some of the new stuff inside the installed client. However, they have done some very nice stuff for the Office integration. So in the past, back in version 7 days, you could force users to actually go File, Save As, and Trim would pop up. In the newer versions in 8, they actually took that out. But in 9.2, they have actually brought something very nice back in. So I'll just open up Word, type in my document here. So for those that haven't seen the later versions of 8 and 9, there is a HPE Content Manager ribbon available to you now to save your documents into Content Manager. However, if I go up into File and Save, they've popped the Content Manager in my Save and my Save As now. So you can click Content Manager and you can do a check-in. You can change the file type if you wish. So if I do a check-in as, it will ask me for the record type I wish to use. And then I can complete the form and go on my merry way. Another nice feature they've actually popped in here is you can actually set a default record type. So under your File menu, I'm using Office 2016. Down the bottom here, you will see HPE Content Manager options. This allows you to set your default language. You can use the web client and enter a URL there, but however, I can also use a default record type, which is very nice. So I'll select my particular record type I'd like to use, click OK. So now when I go and save my record, all I do is check in as, and my default record type is used. I think that is a very nice feature. If the user forgets to use the Content Manager tab, they can now go to the File Save As, and it's going to be sitting there, and it can jog their memory to grab it, to save it into Content Manager. I'll just close that. They've also done some enhancements to what's called Checkin Styles. So in Content Manager, once you get to version 9, they've changed the way Outlook actually works with Content Manager, and you now create Checkin Styles. In version 9.1, you used to have 2 windows. One was to create your style, and the second window was to link your style with your Outlook folder. I've just seen a random question come through. Random question, upgrading from 8.3 to 9.2, will safe searches come over? Yes, they will, but they will need to be converted, which doesn't take very long. There's a safe search conversion option available in the client itself. You're welcome. They said thank you. So with the Checkin Styles, I have one sitting here at the moment. So rather than having the 2 windows, I can type in the name of my style. I can select the record type I wish to use, the container this email is going to go into, and you can determine whether you want to see the check-in dialog box and delete after check-in, remembering if the mandatory fields cannot be completed automatically by Content Manager, the check-in dialog box is going to show, and the delete after check-in, the items will actually go into your deleted items in Outlook. And down the bottom here, you have Link Outlook folder to Checkin Style. That allows you to select the Outlook folder to link the style to. So when you drag and drop your email into that folder, up here on type of fruit, I'm going to use the fruit document record type, and in Content Manager, it's going to go into my type of fruit for harvesting folder. So they've made the Checkin Styles a lot simpler. Used to be a little bit convoluted to do that. So that's a very nice feature there. So that's some of the new enhancements or new features they've done with the install client. They have done some enhancements, and because we're nearly at the end of time, the nicest enhancement I have seen them do, I've just got a question, will linked folders from 8.3 move across to 9.2? I will have to double check that for you. I haven't done an upgrade recently from 8.3 to 9.2, but I will confirm that for you and let you know. One of the nice features, I know when it comes time to go looking for users of the user type administrators, records coordinators, records managers, we have never been able to have an easy way to actually do that. I have a solution to everybody's issue. They have actually added in a user type search. So if you do a search for your locations, as you can see, I've already got it there. Under your, I usually go by format, by alphabetical and caption. If you go all the way down to your user type, you can now search for your administrators, records managers, knowledge workers, rather than having to return all your users and order it by the column. I think that is the nicest feature they have ever put back in. It just makes life a lot easier to find how many administrators you have, how many records coordinators you have. One other thing I will show you before we go is they've made some slight changes to the security of your records. So for example, if I search for this record number D18/7, brings up my document. If I go into the security and audit, security and access of this particular document, you can see here that the security has been inherited from the container. But you've now got an option to keep this container security and any other locations you wish to add. So if I select the top 2 items here and go into custom, I can add in another user, for example. Oops. Put in Peter Abbott. And you have a option down the bottom here, also include any locations in the corresponding access control of the container record. So if I tick that and go OK, I'm keeping the access controls from the container, plus I've added in additional people into my access controls. That may give you a little bit more flexibility for the access controls of your documents, which is very nice. There is a lot more items that they have enhanced inside the installed client, which I can pop some further information in an email for you after the webinar has been completed. I did see a question come through. Someone asked about SharePoint. Does it integrate with SharePoint, OneDrive and Teams? Yes, the integration is still there between SharePoint and Content Manager. And it is very easy to do. So for example, my library here in SharePoint does have Content Manager installed onto it. You can also add the integration into your OneDrive. So if you have a record that you want to capture everybody's OneDrives, you can select the record, and viewing it in a classic view, we use SharePoint Online here. I can select a particular record and I can go in and have a look at my management details. And I can see this particular record is actually managed inside Content Manager. There we go, D1828. So it does actually integrate with your OneDrive. And it does actually integrate with your Teams inside SharePoint as well. So if you'd like further information about the integration between SharePoint and Content Manager, feel free to contact us and we can provide some further information on that. That's all I have to show you this morning. I could keep going on all day, but we are limited for time. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact either myself, Kylie, or Steve, who is our Business Development Manager, on either of those emails, or you can give us a call on the phone number. And thank you very much for joining us this morning. Any of those questions that have popped up in the chat, I will respond to everybody for you. And if you have any other queries, please do not hesitate to contact us, and we look forward to you joining us in the next webinar next month. Thank you, and have a lovely day.